Welcome, I want to show us the difference between a stable loop and a ramping loop using barrier invocation. Our stable loop balances all our stats and loops on its own. We make sure our energy gain is enough to cast all spells in the invocation, and that the mana cost of all spells fills Infernal Flame, which causes enough damage to gain energy for another cast. This repeats, and a loop is created. You can also generate half as much energy, but fill Infernal Flame twice, to generate the same amount of energy, relatively. This does assume you can fill your flame once, with any cast, which we can, and to fill flame multiple times, we must use multiple spells, each with a cost higher than our maximum. This type of loop is what many builds have been based on, such as my own. The loop using only one barrier invocation is easier to calculate, because the invocation sustains itself. This stable loop is achieved through high energy shield, which generates more energy by increasing the damage we take. Our ramping loop is quite different. Instead of relying on one invocation to both charge and spend energy, we can use our other invocations to feed high amounts of energy to our main skill, which also shares the energy it generates with our feeder skills, creating a loop. The invocations will not loop on their own, and must be used together to work. You will also generate more energy the faster you press the invocations. If we can activate a feeder invocation once, and it casts 4 times, and the mana cost is higher than our Infernal Flame, it will proc and generate energy 4 times as well. This will generate energy for all invocations, including itself, and when multiple invocations are cast together, you're increasing the amount of spells you can cast per second, which we take advantage of to generate additional flame, and as a result, energy. We can see how our damage taken ramps up very quickly, and if we press the invocations fast enough we can die. Apparently there are some people taking advantage of the Q order with recoup, and using macros to cast. We are not exploiting that, or using any macro. This build works with no exploits. Comet fills our flame once, and costs 300 energy to activate. In the stable version, our energy generated must be 900, to generate 3 charges for Comet. But if all casts are capable of filling flame, we can see that using a skill requiring 50 energy will generate more Infernal Flame procs, and more energy. Some skills which cost 50 energy, will generate energy each cast, if we can make the mana cost higher than our Infernal Flame. With 900 maximum energy, we can cast 18 cold snaps, with each cast. Compared to Comet, which will only cast 3 times, that is 6 times, less flame fills. It is important to note at this point, that normally, our flame overflows. If the spell is triggered, this rule does not apply, so we cannot benefit from additional mana cost on a skill. It either fills it, or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, you must combine it with another skill, which together, will have mana costs equal to more than your maximum flame. So this is why we focus on casting more spells, and getting their mana cost to be as high as possible, to activate Infernal Flame more often. Let's go over why this is good. In order to sustain the extra damage taken, which is based on how much life and energy shield we have, we remove as much life and energy shield as possible, to reduce the damage dealt to us by Infernal Flame. If you remove the energy shield skill points you have, and invest those exact same points into flask life recovery rate, you are able to cast a lot more. This means, with higher energy shield, we are taking more damage, and we are capable of filling our flame less, which is why we lower it, to fill our flame more often. We make it easier to fill our flame, by using the Enfolding Dawn armor, which reduces maximum flame. It also provides us with extra spirit to gain more invocations. Once we know how many times we can fill Infernal Flame, each second, we can use this to find out how much energy we generate. This demonstration simply shows us, the more often we can fill our flame, the more energy we can generate, and if faced with an option of investing in energy shield, or in flask life recovery, going for more recovery, will give you the ability to sustain more casts per second, which will generate more energy on average. This is due to our low life and energy shield, which decreases the damage we take, and allows our recovery to be even more effective, which is a fixed value and does not change, whereas our damage taken is variable, and can change, so we can recover a greater percentage of our life, when it is lower, which lets us activate flame more, and cast more spells. So, by using a ramping loop, we are able to damage ourselves more often, and generate more energy. To sustain the extra casts we get, we lower our life and energy shield, to reduce damage taken, while keeping mana costs high, to refill our flame, and sustain casting, and of course, we get as much recovery as possible. Thanks for watching, and take care.